So this is Kentucky.
Is this what's best for me? I've never seen a sunset like this before. Watch the lights fading out upon the cliffs of the shore. I've never been this far from home. Now I'm stuck in the past. Is it too hard to see?
My first impression of river travel is that it was not unlike a highway. Of course, there are not lanes or guardrails or a ditch on the side, but it's a wide surface on which you snake across the land. The difference is that the river highway is liquid, with a foundation of liquid underneath it, and the road is solid, with a solid foundation underneath it. But the water has so much more character than the road does. First, there is the sound of it. It tells you how fast it's moving, and if you're making any progress. There's the sound of the paddle that we hear all day long. I don't get tired of it, and I don't get tired of the sound of the water hitting the side of the boat. People tell you that it'll make you pee, the sound of running water, but it doesn't. It's not true. There's a lot of dead buoys on the side of the water, and Mowgli started calling them Mississippi River flowers.
Two flowers growing right beside each other.
It's hot on this river, hotter than you might think it would be on open water. We can go for a swim, but then we're not making any progress, and eventually we have to get back in the boat. Another funny thing about water is you always know where to find it. It's downhill from wherever you're standing right now. The water falling out of the sky tends to be colder than the river, and the water in the north has tended to be colder than the water in the south. There's no shade, and there's no natural protection from constantly being wet. As a result, we've both grown a deep tan in our skins, and I've grown accustomed to a constant wet feeling. Besides the properties of this river specifically, there is the oddity of canoe travel in general. The Mary Lou, Mowgli's canoe, is a small half tube, only 17 feet long, made out of aluminum, in a big river that could easily swallow it if things go wrong. But the longer we travel without things going wrong, the more we think that they can't go wrong.
Oh good, it's raining again.
For us, the water is a conveyance, but more commonly people travel on land, and the river is an obstacle. The further south we go, the fewer bridges there are. I imagine it gets more and more expensive to build a bridge the wider the river gets, and this pig just keeps getting wider and wider. I don't think it plans on skinnying out either. Water doesn't have a uniform weight or feeling to it. Putting a paddle in the water is like putting a shovel in the dirt. It depends on what kind of soil you're shoveling into to know what it feels like. This water felt light because it was being tossed around, but the waters also felt heavy or slow or dead or backwards. It's easier to keep the momentum of paddling going, like putting a plow in the dirt instead of taking one scoop and a shovel at a time. This river, the Mississippi, is charted in two parts: the upper Mississippi, Minneapolis to Cairo, Illinois, and the lower Mississippi, everything south of Cairo. We landed at the park in Cairo, on the southernmost tip of Illinois. The state has the natural boundary of the Ohio River on one side and the Mississippi on the other. The southern tip at Cairo is where the two rivers combine, and the water continues under the name the lower Mississippi River. The Mississippi roughly doubled in size when the Ohio joined it, so we're in the big river now. If I drown in this big water and my remains are pulled out of it, the river will only be short 2 lungfuls of water, and it won't notice. If I make it all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, the river won't be proud or even notice either. That essential fact is what makes God's creation so humbling, is that it's so indifferent to your success or failure, how much you struggle or how much you think you achieve. This river is great and powerful, life-sustaining and life-ending, but I mean nothing to it. My journey down the river means nothing to the river, but that's the point. It's up to me to make this journey meaningful. It's my place to go out and understand God's great big green world and not the other way around. I saw the power of this place up at the confluence with the Ohio River, how much force is really under these waters, moving them along. But when Mowgli and I settled on this island for the night, we got to see its beauty. The place was blessed with willow shade and perpetual wind. Mowgli cooked a supper of pasta and red sauce, and afterward he beat all the sand out of his sleeping bag to have a more comfortable night, and I went out swimming and exploring the island. finding a rope swing in the process. It looks like it was tied there when the waters were a little higher, but it still works just fine. This is our first night in the 6th state along the journey, Kentucky. By the miles, it's the shortest state on the river. But already I think we found the best island in all of its territory. With wind too strong for the mosquitoes to fly in on it, and water too shallow for towboats to negotiate, it's perfectly secluded from the noisy or biting visitors we usually get at other places throughout the night. Being deprived of something only intensifies your appreciation for it. For that reason, we were both appreciating the cool breeze and clear skies of this evening's sunset.